for the sake of this podcast, I'm not going to make any of the jokes I want to make. All this and more on the Self-Evident Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the Self-Evident Podcast. You got Mike. No, Massey's still not back. Shall be back next podcast. But for now, you got me. I am just signing into things, making sure I'm there, and I can see your comments. So go ahead, let me know where you're from. If you are live with us today, thanks so much for joining. You guys are awesome. And it's a blast to do these podcasts. I really do thoroughly enjoy this stuff because we get to talk to you guys. We get to give you our perspective. We get to cut up, have fun. It's just a part of the process. But be sure to go to theselfevidenttruth.com. Check out the shirts, the programs. Man, we got curriculum. I'm telling you, if you want to finally understand the founding of America, our Constitution course is for you. You can take it for a lifetime, use it for a lifetime. It has printable PDFs, so you can print out as many copies of the work study and the questions as you want. Take your family through it, take your Bible study through it, whatever you want to do. But this program really does go from the beginning of all of it, all the way through the 27th Amendment. So go check that out at theselfevidenttruth.com. Otherwise, get yourself a shirt, book, that kind of thing. So it's kind of all the rage right now, this Olympic boxing story, and it's an interesting story. And there's a piece of the puzzle that a lot of people aren't talking about that I'm going to talk about here. And I will say I do not have this confirmed, though there are reports of this. And if so, this changes it a little bit, but it still doesn't change the conclusion. But we're going to get into this. We're going to talk about this because this is interesting. And if you watched the video of what happened in women's boxing a couple of days ago, you can't help but your heart sinks on the whole thing. And it's one of those situations that you just kind of like, man, is this really where we're at? Is this the debate we have to have? So with this, and I'm just adjusting my screen because I'm rolling on my own, which is fine by me. Okay. So before we begin, understand that there are issues going on with Khelif, the male boxer. And those issues are, well, let me roll the video first. Let's just roll the video, and then we'll get into the issues. Let's go ahead and put this up here. Okay, I'm going to play this.
There's some quick replays of the very short-lived action.
So that's the punch.
In the women's welterweight bout there between Angela Carini and Imane Khelif. Imane Khelif taking the win.
Slam in the face.
Carini choosing to abandon the bout.
And so what Carini did, the Italian woman, she decided, I'm done. That was the fight. That wasn't just the highlights. That was the fight. One punch. Carini said, no, I'm not doing this. Now, Carini, the Italian boxer in blue, she's a police officer. And she's 25 years old. She was slated to fight Algeria's Imane Khelif. Now, about 45 seconds into this fight, as you saw, Carini threw up her hands and forfeited the bout. And there was something else Carini did, and I'm going to go ahead and play that video as well. Let's get into that.
In red from Algeria.
Khelif taking the win as Carini abandoned the bout.
I'm just leaving that there for a second. She kneels down, breaks down, and cries. There are reports that she was vocalizing the unfair nature of this. Now, after the fight, she had said, I got into the ring to fight, but I didn't feel like it anymore after the first minute. I started to feel a strong pain in my nose. I didn't give up, but a punch hurt too much, and so I said, enough. I'm leaving with my head held high. Daily Mail reports Carini's coach in the mix zone after the fight said, I don't know if her nose is broken. I have to speak with the girl. But many people in Italy tried to call and tell her, don't go, please. It's a man. It's dangerous for you. And the difference between a man and a woman in the boxing ring is a massive difference. And we've watched this in MMA too. MMA, if you're not familiar with MMA, they had an issue a couple of years ago where a male chose to become a female, quote unquote, and absolutely cracked a woman. And one of those like, oh, this guy could kill somebody type of situations. Now, Mike, you said there was something going on with Khelif. Now, first off, this isn't the first controversy. The IBA actually banned Khelif. Said, no, you can't fight in the women's division. The Olympics said, nah, even though you got banned from that, we'll let you in. And the IBA kind of took a shot at the Olympics about this, and they said the IOC's differing regulations on these matters in which IBA is not involved raise serious questions about both competitive fairness and athletes' safety. However, the IOC position is that Khelif and Chinese transgender athlete Lin Tu Ting of Taipei are women according to their passports. Of course, IOC spokesman Mark Adams said, I repeat that all the competitors comply with the eligibility rules. But what I would say is that this involves real people. And by the way, this is not a transgender issue. I should make this absolutely clear. Now, why is that? And if the reports are true, Adams is not completely wrong. It is reported that Khelif has Swyer syndrome. This is defined as a rare genetic condition in which people who have an X chromosome and a Y chromosome, usual pattern for males, look female. They have normal female reproductive organs, including uterus, fallopian tubes, and vagina. However, the ovaries do not develop and are replaced by clumps of tissue where they would normally form. Swyer syndrome is usually not diagnosed until puberty, when menstrual periods do not begin as they should. So Khelif was banned from the IBA because of testosterone levels as well as XY chromosome. That's a big issue in all of this. Khelif carries XY chromosome, has female reproductive organs, but also has higher levels of testosterone. Note the male development of Khelif's muscles, body size, very male figure, face, all of that. And so what do we do with that? I've got sympathy for Khelif in the sense that this is not an out-and-out guy decided to just go rail on women and turn woman, right? Assuming this is true, this Swyer syndrome situation. I've got sympathy for that. If this were a straight transgender case, I would have pulled out so many jokes. But I left them behind because this assuming this is true, this is not a straight transgender case. If it is, I'm coming back around with all my jokes, guys. But my guess is Khelif's typical testosterone level is somewhere in the normal range of a guy and carries an XY chromosome. So what we have to decide is, what are the criteria to determine whether somebody is a male or a female? Is it purely on looks? Is it just on reproductive organs? Is it on genetics? And I want you guys to talk about this. And let me know what you think. in this whole case. And I believe that it takes, if we're going to just use these three things, I believe that it should probably take 2 out of the 3 to determine, right? And 2 of the 3 are probably going to go one way or another. I think XY versus XX is the most important in terms of like male or female, right? And then you get into hormone levels, and then you get into reproductive organs. It isn't an easy open and shut case, but think about if you take 2, you've got 2 out of the 3 in Khelif as a male. XY chromosome, testosterone levels seemingly far above females. Reproductive organs are secondary issue because there's a whole spectrum of where the reproductive organs could be at. They could be completely useless. They could be half formed. They could be all the way the other way. Now, does that mean that Khelif should be able to compete as a woman? It's obvious no. I mean, at the very base of it, the IBA said, look, XY chromosome, far above testosterone levels, muscular development from typical testosterone levels. Because when puberty hit, it wasn't estrogen that went through the roof for Khelif. It was testosterone. Now, when you get to that point, you go, okay, we've drawn standards between male and female. So we've got to figure out, okay, how are we going to segment people out? And the part of the problem with this is Khelif is an Olympic boxer in women's boxing. Now, Khelif probably could have made the argument, no, I'm a male. I've got a difference down there, but for all intents and purposes, I'm a male. So I'm going to box with males. But you know what the problem would be? Khelif would not be anywhere near Olympic boxing in that case. Just weigh that out. And it's funny to me that Algeria, of all places, sent Khelif as a woman. Now, Algeria, I looked it up because I was really curious about this, especially when it was when the perceived assumption was that Khelif was just transgender. I was like, man, that doesn't make sense for Algeria. This situation makes a little more sense, but still, Algeria has a state religion and constitutionally protected religion of Islam. So not usually the most open and modern cosmopolitan type of society. Just so you know, in Algeria, gay marriage is illegal. Act of homosexuality is illegal. Indecent exposure consisting of an act against nature with an individual of the same sex leads to prison. LGBTQ organizations aren't allowed to register. Gender recognition is not possible, as in, I'm changing gender, right? It's all based on sex. So last year, a man was arrested for promoting homosexuality on the internet. Not too long ago, 44 people were arrested and convicted for attending a gay wedding. A channel broadcasting a movie containing same-sex marriage was banned for 20 days. September, a person was arrested for sexual deviance. And an Algerian sports federation was suspended internationally when its officials refused to see jerseys with rainbows during the awards ceremony. So we don't have the most open, modern, woke society of all time. And what gets me is that they sent this guy, and I'm going to use the term male, sent this guy into women's boxing. And I can't help but watch that and go, okay, are they punking us? Like, is Algeria punking us? Because I don't foresee a whole lot of sympathy for Khelif's position coming out of Algeria unless they feel like they can get something out of it. And couldn't they get something out of it if they look the other way in terms of how we see sex, male, female, and we can watch one of ours beat up everybody else and get the gold? Because my guess is Algeria is not winning a whole lot of gold and silver medals. And so, hey, chance to get gold. And the Olympics, spineless. absolutely spineless approach to this is they've painted themselves into a corner, and now they have to go with it. Because if they're going to allow men, and their requirements are basically, a couple of years of hormone blockers or that kind of things, and they've got some standards, but you're taking fully grown men and then cutting them off for a couple of years and then saying, okay, you're a woman now. And we've watched it in other sports. And think about, we watched in swimming, the whole Riley Gaines situation. A mediocre male swimmer suddenly decides, I'm going to be a woman, is winning championships. Powerlifting. Mediocre male, actually probably weak by size and standards, ends up crushing women's records. And you get this process of men going, I'm meh over in my field, but now I got the chance to win and be a big fish, small pond. And women are crying out right now. There are a lot of women who are frustrated. I'm with you. Like, if there were more I could do besides talk about this and put it on blast, I want to be able to do it, because there's something in me that wants to protect women's rights to have competition in a fair setting. Now, at some point, somebody has an advantage, right? If one guy has testosterone levels of about 400 and another guy has natural testosterone levels of 1,000, there is an advantage in that guy versus another guy. So do they not even compete in the same field? We don't go that far, because we know we have to draw a line somewhere. And that easiest line, and makes most sense line, is at least divvy them up between male and female. I am not tall enough to be an NBA player. So do I decide that I've got to fight the NBA until this size discrimination allows me to pursue my dream of being an NBA player? No, I'm just not going to be an NBA player. So that dream, now, unless I can overcome all of those obstacles and become short white guy in the NBA, I've got to deal with the reality that that's just not in the cards for me. And isn't it funny that if Khelif had boxed as a male, Olympic medals, Olympic gold, just would not have been in the cards for Khelif. Yet, the Olympics and so many organizations and people want to do away with any semblance of, that's just not the cards you're dealt, and try to finagle and adjust and modify things and twist them so that then all of a sudden we can give somebody something they want because, hey, they want it. Yet, then you have Karini, who was boxing for her deceased father, who has trained and worked for this moment, steps in the ring, mind you, veteran boxer, steps in the ring, and in one hit says, I'm done. You have to imagine that punch was something monumental where she went, I'm in a whole different ballgame here. I can't compete. I was saying this to some people last night. This is akin to me trying to step into the ring with Mike Tyson. Not going to happen. It doesn't take one punch for me to figure that one out. And I'm not giving up my man card. I'm not stupid. Mike, you win. Face to face, you win. I give it to you. You are the better boxer. But she took that punch and went, no. And she even said, I've never been hit that hard. And women who have had to fight transgender men, who have had to fight men because the organization said, well, we'll let it happen, have time and time again come back and said, I have never been hit that hard in my life. and could never think to hit that hard. And these are women who have fought other women. So at what point do these organizations finally get some sense and go, okay, we're now putting lives at risk. This is dangerous. Now there's reports that a girl who was smashed in the face with a volleyball from a male playing women's volleyball actually got paralyzed by it. I can't confirm this, and I haven't done much with it because I don't know that that's exactly what happened or is that internet rumor. But at the very least, man, that was a smash in the face. And it's getting dangerous. And J.K. Rowling has even come out and said, okay, at what point do we finally wave the white flag and say enough is enough? Is it going to take a woman getting killed? And heaven forbid that happens. And my position on this would be, Khelif, box as a man or don't box. Take the position, take the high road, and recognize that you are an exception in this whole categorizing. There's something very different about you from a lot of other people. But in the spirit of competition, does it seem fair to go and smash women in the face knowing that you've got the strength and the ability and the force to probably kill them? Is that fair? Or do you win that gold medal and do you truly feel satisfied with the work you've done? Does Thomas in swimming feel truly satisfied breaking records, winning medals? Does the power lifter truly feel like they've done something? Now, maybe yes, because if people fall far enough into their delusion, it's like the whole world is shut out and it's all about them. And they're completely wrapped up in their delusion. So could be. But there's a claim to humanity that we can make of this isn't civil to do something like this. And shame on the Olympics for ever allowing this situation to take course. Instead of really bearing down and discussing this with the IBA, you went, oh, well, you banned him. We're letting him. The IBA did it for a reason, and good on the IBA. Props to you, and props to you for you guys coming out and basically saying, yeah, our standards are different. We banned him. You didn't. This is what happens. So props to the IBA. And I think that type of stuff has to happen if we want some semblance of civility back in all of this stuff. Now, and this is besides all the Last Supper stuff, right? And so my question to you guys is, now knowing there's more to the story than just man decides to put on an eyeliner and hit woman, does it change your perspective? Does it change how you view this situation? I mean, intersex is a real thing, and it happens. It's a very small minority of people in the world. So it is true, it does happen. But do you make exceptions for every single person because they're not completely in line with the rest of the population on something? I mean, all of us have something that's rare or unique about us, whether good or bad. In sport, you cannot boil it down to completely perfect comparison one-on-one. Wrestling has weight divisions. Powerlifting has weight divisions. Olympic lifting has weight divisions. Why? Boxing, weight divisions. Fighting, weight divisions. Why? Because there is a difference in ability during competition. It makes no sense for a powerlifter who's 135 to go up against the super heavyweights, which is 275 plus. It's just unfair. There is not enough mass in that 135er to really be on the same competitive level as somebody who's 330 pounds. And that takes nothing away from the 135ers who are super strong for their size. And some of them, really rare strength. More power to you. But on the whole, does that mean you just put all the 135s in with the 275 plus and let them all compete? Same thing with boxing or fighting. You've got speed at a 135 or 155 or whatever. You're nimble, you're agile, you're fast. But if you're going up against somebody who's a 210, it's a whole different ballgame. And so at some point, you've got to draw those boundaries and recognize, well, there's still going to be a range within those boundaries, right? Because 275 plus for powerlifting, perfect example, you might be 276. Somebody else might be 330, 340, or you're a Brian Shaw and you're at 400, right? And so there is a difference. There is a range. But you can't go, okay, we will have all 275s compete against each other, all 276s compete against each other, all 277s compete against, because then it ends up being too many categories. You've devolved into nothing. And I raise all of that because I think you've got to draw your standards somewhere, and what progressives will do, or people arguing for this will do, is that, well, the one of two ways. Either, yeah, you can only have two standards, but now we've got to shove everybody who wants to be in a different standard, go ahead and be there no matter what. That would be akin to the 275er in lifting going, well, I want to compete in the 135s. So what do I have to do that? But at the same time, do we keep creating, and I've seen this suggestion popped forward, and I don't agree with it at all, is start creating more and more divisions. We're just going to have to create more and more divisions in all sports, and so that way everything's fair, and you will never achieve your desired equity. You'll never get there. Because even at the same weight, there will be different testosterone levels. So now do we measure those out and determine that, well, the testosterone levels have to be the same. So you could be 275 and you're competing at 275, but there's a 400 difference between two men's testosterone levels. So, well, are they two different categories then? I think the biggest move you can make in all of this, and the Olympics won't do it. The Olympics is toast, honestly. I don't foresee them turning this around. I mean, if you look at other events, the Oscars, Academy Awards, that kind of thing, once they start sliding down the rabbit hole, it's pretty rare that they can turn it around and people just stop caring. And I could see it where the Olympics just kind of slides into obscurity. Oh, that thing? Yeah, anyways. Right? Because if they're going to go this route and everybody's pointing out, you guys are screwing this up. And woe for the athletes who work all their life to get there and want to be there. But I think what you're going to find, maybe I'm wrong, in about 20 years, if it continues down this path, people aren't going to care a whole lot about becoming an Olympic athlete. When we were kids, growing up, it was like, man, to become an Olympic athlete, like that's the cream of the crop. You are the top of the world. And people dedicated and sacrificed their whole life for the whole thing. And I think more and more people are going to count the cost and go, it doesn't matter. I've got more important things to focus on. And you're seeing that in our pro athletes. Less and less do they care about having to go to the Olympics. It's more of just geez, man, now I got to spend a couple of weeks out at the Olympics, try and win a gold for America, and then get back and focus on my season. So I think you'll see, especially the major ones like basketball and all of that, more and more, it may go away of dodo. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I think knowing the information that we know now about Khelif, let's be careful of this. It was some man who just wanted to haul off and hit women. But at the same time, it was somebody who knew their man in all respects and purposes, basically, and hauled off and hit women. So I don't necessarily consider it a transgender issue, but I do consider it if Khelif doesn't know better, Khelif should know better. And I think Khelif knows better. And I think Algeria knows better. And I think the Olympic community knows better. And yet they went ahead with it and destroyed another woman's dreams. Several women's dreams. And then you get women in the wake like a Riley Gaines who are getting vilified because they point out the fact you're screwing us over. You who support this, you who force us to submit to this, it's your fault. And I agree with those women. And I don't blame Karini for forfeiting. You know when it's just not even possible. You know when it's like, this is dangerous for me. And again, I say, I would never climb into the ring with Mike Tyson for a formal bout. I wouldn't even survive one punch. And my heart breaks for Karini for having to go through that and recognizing she didn't get a legitimate shot. She didn't get that chance. Because Khelif stole it from her. Algeria stole it from her. And the Olympic Committee stole it from her. So that's me. That's what I think. I want to know what you guys think. Thank you so much for listening, for watching. I appreciate it. And I hope all y'all have a great day. Be sure to check us out on Monday. So thank you guys. Love y'all.